Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Rant. It's Greg here again on the channel with Toby, and today we're going to be talking about episode 6 of Andor. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about the 6th episode of Andor, which is called The Eye, which I think that was the same name as the Rings of Power episode that we just reviewed.
Yeah, it's very weird, isn't it? But it should be called the same.
Yes.
Because we discussed why that might be called the Eye in the other one, didn't
Yes.
we? And one of the things was Eye of the Storm, and I think that is very much what this one is about, isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah.
You know, so
going through that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What did they call? Yeah, they got a particular name for that thing, haven't they? But I forgot what they've called it. We obviously watched the last episode where it was a little bit slower, and we were a lot of build up to a heist to capture this income that they have that the Imperials use for their payroll for their sector.
Yeah.
And I was thoroughly pleased with this episode. I thought this was a great addition to the Star Wars canon. And what did you think, Toby? Let's see. Have you got over the Cassian Andor thing yet?
Actually, I thought it was his best episode.
Right, good.
So I thought it was his best. The thing that I was sitting there and watching this, and I kind of in my head, the first thing I thought, right. So before, like in the first few minutes, I was like, right. So they're going to take the time to get in.
Yeah.
It's going to go all right. They're going to get in.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little bit of conflict, and then they're going to fly off. Okay. Yes. I was hoping that wouldn't be what actually happened. I was hoping that we'd have some kind of surprise or something that might actually change the narrative a little bit. But no, you get a couple of people die, which is what I expected. The ex-stormtrooper, who turns out to be an ex-stormtrooper. You get the other little guy die. It's inevitable because he's got to pass on his mandate to he's got to pass on his mandate to Cassian. Nothing about it surprised me. Now, that's not to say that it wasn't good in parts. I know this is really, I know this is controversial. This is very controversial. But I thought
it nearly all goes wrong for them, doesn't it? I mean,
does it really though? There's a little bit of a shootout in the hangar, and then they just fly off with some TIE fighters.
I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised at your reaction.
One of the reasons why I felt this way is because I just kept feeling underwhelmed by each aspect of it. So it was so predictable that the Imperials were just going to be gluttons and stupid. You know, I just felt that was underwhelming.
In what way did you think they were stupid? Because the guy who was in the communications tower he worked out what's going on, and they then went and confronted them. So I don't think that
so they get to that point where they're already in. They needed some way of it going wrong, and so that was the obvious way of doing it because they've already introduced that guy. He actually feels more like a rebellion soldier than an Imperial soldier because he's got a bit of character about him. So he was obviously going to be involved with it somehow. That one that was an easy call early on, you know. And I think that ultimately, I just felt that the kind of the guys in charge there were just a bit easy. I
thought they were arrogant. I thought they had a certain level of arrogance about them, which I kind of could expect from that kind of setup. They've become powerful. They're unopposed. They've been on a planet where the people there, as they sort of describe at the beginning, aren't particularly challenging them. So it would become easy to just become a little bit complacent in the duties. I totally bought into that. You know, the colonel, the commandant. Sorry, not the colonel. The colonel was the engineer guy who came in, wasn't he? But the commandant guy was he was painted as a guy who was overweight, bit sort of this is what we do here, sort of, and very arrogant about his position.
I thought it was
Idani.
Yeah, they were drawing boring comparisons to colonial invasion. and they were talking about how they would appease the locals by building taverns and putting distractions along their route. So from something like 600 down to 50. If you were really religious and you were on a mission to go somewhere, you surely you wouldn't let that distract you. You would be there, 600 people. It just smacked of reducing the number of extras they had to employ. That's all. That's what it felt like to me. And then we get like this poxy.
Do you know, that's funny because I thought, well, at least they've only got 50 extras, not 15,000.
Yeah, I know. Well, they could have.
I did think that. Yeah.
They could have used a little bit of CGI, make it a bit more bigger, and I thought that the little grouping of religious people, that was pathetic. What part did they play in this? I mean, what was the point?
They're just, but they're just there as this is why they're doing this at this particular point, because there's a little bit of a distraction.
No, they're not. It's the thing above them that's the reason, isn't it? Really?
Yes, exactly.
They come to it, but I thought that they would provide more of a distraction, be more involved with the whole thing, and they would look much more interesting than they did. They just kitted out some guys in some historical Scandinavian outfits and just sent them down the hill. I thought it was pathetic. I thought, oh my God, this is underwhelming. And then they were using light and dark metaphors throughout the whole bloody episode. It's so basic.
You're joking.
Fires, lighting fires, extinguishing fires, lighting fires.
Right.
I just thought,
okay.
I felt that was really miserable. And then they go into this. They get into the hangar for the heist because it's all predictable. I mean, there's no point in describing because exactly.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the plot line was astonishing, but I thought it was good how it was done. They were always a little. Yeah, I did.
We've already seen them do it, marching in the field, pretending that they were there already. That's all we needed to see. That's what we saw.
Not so much that bit. I thought it was all pretty good. I thought it was
there was lots of marching. It was dark, wasn't it? It was gloomy. The lighting wasn't very good at all in the show. I thought that when they got to the hangar,
right,
predictable. They've got this massive amount of gold lined up down this thing, and they have to get all the people that happen to stay there to conveniently be there to load it all up onto their ship. Otherwise they would have been screwed because there's no way they could have loaded up that ship in time.
No, you're correct there. If there hadn't been anyone in the hangar, they would have been totally screwed, wouldn't they?
And they only took about 10% of it. It was like tons of it.
Yeah, I know. I think that was my only, but then when you look at the amount that they actually had, that what they actually took was a big chunk. It was a lot of
I would say that it was a big chunk, but there was a lot more there, wasn't there? And I was like, oh my God, and then they're loading it all up. Suddenly there's a lot in the hangar.
Yeah,
as you say, a big chunk. And I'm thinking, blimey, that would have taken ages to load that into the blooming container. They only had like 3 trolleys, and they're going backwards and forwards, about 6 on each one. I was like, how did they get all that in there? In any case, I thought that whole, and suddenly, conveniently, the signal that's being jammed.
I definitely give you the one. I definitely thought, hang on, there must be a better way of loading this stuff onto the thing. Do you know what I mean? That to me was and exactly what you said there. If there weren't those guys in the hangar at the time, they would have been totally screwed. But then again, when you say that, if there was only 5 or 6 of those guys, there were 5 or 6 of them. I mean, if they hadn't been in the hangar, the reason they would get them to do it is because they were having to hold the guns to them to stop them from running off or attacking them. So they could have done it.
There was about 10.
They could have done it, themselves.
I think there was about 10 of them, and they probably would have easily doing all the ruckus.
Yeah, but they were having to coax them. They were having to coax them and get them to
but I think the Imperial Guards would have turned on their attackers there because they know that they would have been court-martialed and shot if they'd been, because they're pretty strict, aren't they, with the system there. I thought it was a bit unbelievable that I just thought it was. Wow. Yeah, I know.
I thought this seemed a bit more realistic in its approach.
Boring,
I was very.
I think you mean. I think at the end of the day, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Surprised.
I was so bored.
I'm more surprised at your reaction than what you're saying about the show.
I know. Well, I was so bored throughout the whole episode.
You were bored.
I was like only at the end.
Oh, you're
when
joking.
They were trying to get away, was I like, oh, this is interesting. I want to see how they do this, because they showed some nice little shots, didn't they? And flying through in the trailers, we were like, where are they flying there? What the hell's going on there? I was trying to see what that was. And then the guy in the back, the little guy, he gets crushed by one of these containers, and he gets mortally injured. But then they pull him out and they jab him like out of that Quentin Tarantino film.
Pulp Fiction,
Pulp Fiction, with the adrenaline in the chest. They call it some sort of med spike or something like that.
I think it was something different. I think it was the Star Wars type medicine.
It was, wasn't it?
Not adrenaline for a drug overdose.
she jams it in him and wobbles it around as she does it. And then there's the bit
where he's keeping him alive for a short while.
Got his old Polaroid camera, and he's figuring something out, and he's saying, just pull up. How does he know just to pull up? And then just pull down. I was like,
well, he's got a scan. It's a scanning device.
How does he know that he's not going to get destroyed by all the meteors as he pulls up into the oncoming?
He can probably tell from the way this thing scans. So my feeling was that little device was giving him the ability. It was scanning the vicinity and seeing, right, there's a gap in the meteor shower bit here. Go up a bit, go down a bit. You'll miss those bits, and as he's going up and going down, and the TIE fighters are getting hit by this. I thought that was totally fine. I know what you're saying, but he had his little.
How can he scan on that old pre-Empire device where the bloody meteors are?
He explained that in the last series. These things were made well. They were made to last, and they were very.
That may be true, but there's no way they could track a million meteorites going through the atmosphere.
Why not? We don't live in. Star Wars is crazy. They can make blooming arms and bodies out of androids.
May have suspended your disbelief for that one, but I couldn't.
I didn't mind that bit at all. It was only a minor bit where he said, go up a bit, go down a bit, and then, there you go, you're out. And I thought that was fine. It wasn't like he if there was a trail of things that were just coming at a constant speed and you could scan an area, you'd be able to see gaps in that.
Well, interestingly, Cassian, he's on my side in this particular argument, because he says, I can't pull up. There's loads of meteors, and the guy's already said pull up, and he's like 2 minutes late. He's pulled up. By that time, all those meteors would have come across, and that gap would have been filled.
Hang on, Cassian, you're getting on side with Cassian now. This is outrageous.
No, I think I mean, this episode we didn't have any of the good characters in it, really. I think that was part of the problem. And Belle, she's in it a little bit, but she's and I thought that some of the little action scenes were fine. Some of them climbing up the stuff and doing all that. It was kind of very it's kind of like you might sort of download that scene from some website somewhere and just put it in your film, because it's kind of standard issue type espionage footage, isn't it? And that was all fine, but I felt like we needed to know something more about Vel.
Now look, it's interesting you say that, because that to me was like they filmed it on location. It was actually real. There was some. I hate Star Wars when it goes fucking crazy, when Jedi can jump and flip and, Yoda can fight and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
This to me is bringing a much more down to earth approach to it. None of these people are Jedi, for one thing, are they? They're people, there's bits in it where they're not sure whether they're going to do it or how they're feeling. You see Karras is talking about anxiety and how he's feeling about it, and then Cassian says, well, don't worry about it, you won't feel tired when we're getting going, your adrenaline will kick in, sort of thing. And there's a bit where Vel's climbed up and she's put that thing on and she's running down and she's trying to hide, and there was lots of really good bits in this, and I thought this is much more believable. Not everybody is superhuman that can do all these amazing things, and I think what they did was really
reasonable.
well put
Absolutely
together.
You said it reasonable. Really it was reasonable together. It was reasonable, I thought.
No, I said it's really well put together. You turn the into a reasonable. That's not the same thing. No. I thought there was some good tension in there. So there was some bits where you were, going down to the vault or whatever it was, where they were. That was all tense. The music, I didn't know if you noticed the music in it. The music was
good for the vaults. It was
intense. It was giving this good little, it was almost techno-y sort of style of music and built up the tension. I thought there was lots of really good details all around. You looked, we're getting so much more with the Imperials, and I like that. I like seeing that. And even if they are bumbling fools or whatever, but they've still done it. So I know people I work with who are like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I suppose that's
but that's what I'm talking about. It's like it was all just a bit predictable and a bit day to day sort of.
Compare that episode to any episode from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, that was about 100 times better, wasn't it? You have to admit, this is a lot better as a series.
Yeah. I thought
it was a really good show, and I still thought the action was good. And it was nice that you don't know who's going to survive. The characters we knew
who was going to survive, didn't we? We knew that. We knew 3 of them were going to die. It's going to be that annoying little kid that
did you
I
not
thought
like
he was
the
all right.
Bit where did you not like the bit where Arvel turned around at the end and said, "Let's steal this stuff together and leave Vel here"?
That was the bit I hated the most in the show.
Did you? That's interesting.
Absolutely. That was the thing that I thought was stupid. I just thought it was stupid because he was sold on he was the one who was questioning Cassian's the most, and for them to turn around and say it was so that he could then take all the money at the end, I think it's just so lame. I just think that's lame. I think we needed martyrs in this, not crooks.
Yeah, but but Karras was the martyr, wasn't he? He was the guy that he had all the philosophy. He was true to the cause. He died, unfortunately, didn't he? He got squashed and died.
I thought his death was stupid, and then this scene at the end with the doctor was weird. I don't know why they did all that. Just kill him in the bloody plane, for God's sake. I think that ultimately
they weren't trying. No, I mean, I think that's why Arvel guy had said, let's go to this planet, because he didn't want to go back to give the money back to the rest of the rebels. He wanted to be able to get it somewhere. That
whole scene with Arvel,
where he could steal the money, didn't he?
Well, they would have done a better job. These are like a group of dedicated rebels.
Yeah.
There was a rumor that there was one who was going to betray, but he didn't betray them in the middle. Now, if he shot one of his own guys in the fight, now that would have been a lot better.
But he wouldn't have got away then, would he? He wanted to get away. He would have done it so no one could see.
No, he would have done it so no one could have seen. If he shot someone in the back, that would have been much more cutthroat and evil. This guy, he says to Cassian, who he doesn't really know, because Cassian hasn't told him anything about who he is. Yeah. He suspects he's a mercenary. He'll just take the money. At the end of the day, Cassian just stands there. And he looks like
he's being paid. He's being paid to do this.
I know. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
He's told them that.
They don't know him though, do they? They don't know.
They don't. But he's assuming that he's the way he's looked at him. The stuff he's had,
that blank expression. That he has
yeah.
I think that Cassian
there was some off-camera stuff where they really got to know each other. They had a few beers and they really got to know each other. So
it was a weird scene, don't you think? Don't you think Cassian was just standing there? He got a blank look on his face, and he sort of fired in a weird way, like his body jolted, and it's like he looked like he'd accidentally shot him. I thought for a moment he was just like this.
You need to watch it again.
You can never look. I'm going to.
They were both sitting down for one thing. They're both sitting down, and
he's kind of standing up, and he does it.
I thought he was sitting down.
No, he's stands clear. I saw it half an hour ago.
Oh, let's not argue about it.
No, I think that ultimately,
the
fact that I like
you weren't as happy about this episode. I'm getting
I thought it was. I was disappointed because it was so bloody predictable. That's what disappointed me most. I was disappointed with how they represented things that they were promising to deliver. And I just felt that it wasn't exciting enough. I guess coming out of watching House of Dragon as well, that's in the back of my mind, and that was so much better than this. I think that I expected more from this episode. They left us hanging for an hour last episode, and nothing happened in that Poxy episode last time. Coming off of episode 4, which was the best episode so far in the series in my mind, and then this episode, it was just like I've written it down basically beforehand. What was exactly going to happen? It was so predictable, and that's what I like. I'm not saying the execution wasn't great. I just felt like it didn't surprise me or give me any kind of wow factor.
I think going into the episode, I had in my mind, look, they're going to steal the stuff. Okay, I thought that was definitely going to be the case, but there were pitfalls along the way that it didn't quite work out how they wanted it to work out. They had a plan, and they were behind all the time. They were trying to catch up. They didn't get as much of the money as they wanted to because they were a bit behind. There were that guy heard them on the communications and came down and they attacked them, and 3 or 4 of them got killed, didn't they? Lieutenant Gorn got killed. Taramin, is that his name? Yeah.
Why were they always on the bloody radio talking all the time? It's bound that they're going to be intercepted if they were always talking on the communicators.
They thought they
I know they put a dampening field, didn't they? But
yeah, they thought they'd sorted it, and also I think they underestimated this communications guy, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean he was quite a good character.
He worked it out, didn't he, and did it. But
likable chap.
You've taken me aback a little bit. I'm really quite surprised because I thought it was a very enjoyable episode. I thought there was some great stuff in it. I think it's because I've been expecting crap, and this wasn't crap. This was good. I thought the characters were all well played. I thought they did well. We saw at the end Cinta, she gets away, doesn't she? But she don't know where she's she's just gonna go off, and so she survived, which was good.
It would have been great if we'd seen her in one of those ceremonial robes at the end. She just comes out, dresses out. That would be much better. Blending into the crowd. Get it? That would have been, she just walks off into nowhere. Like, what are you doing? It was weird.
Yeah, but that was kind of her character, wasn't it? She was kind of a bullshit, no nonsense sort of character.
We didn't know anything about her character, apart from potentially she was the partner of Vel, but other than that, didn't really know anything about her. But look, don't get me wrong. I give it a 7 out of 10 if I had to give it a rating.
Okay.
But I would no higher than that. It was. Yeah, I'd watch it again.
Right.
I was also disappointed with how they represented the eye that they called it. Firstly, why call it the eye? That is a stupid name to call it. You wouldn't call it the eye if it was some kind of ceremonial thing, because it doesn't look like an eye, does it? It's like a shower or a kind of influx, or the light invasion, or the kind of something weird like that. The eye felt weird, and then the way it looked from the ground, for a moment it was okay, but then I just thought, this is, it's a colourful meteor shower. Couldn't they have had something, the atmosphere change, become glowy, or some gases are released into the atmosphere so the whole area becomes purpley and pink or something like that? I thought it was as it should be. It just wasn't that 8 out of 10. It was just a 7 out of 10. Even the shower. The best bit about the shower was
the shower was a shower.
in the shower. It would have been when they were flying and fighting. I thought that was good, but we needed a bit more of that.
Yeah, I know.
A better fight in space would have been good.
You've got to remember this is a TV series and not a movie. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. Well, I mean, when you look at it, I think they've been very good with all the sets and all the way they've set the detailing. I liked things like when you saw the signal go out to the TIE fighter base. It wasn't like, you just saw TIE fighters come flying out like you do in these other series. There's no, you saw the men running down the gantries, getting in the things, loading up and turning on the, there was an actual detail, and
they've taken that. Yeah, they've taken that directly from the original Star Wars trilogy. where you see the troopers running to get into their things, all that sort of thing. It's just great. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's good.
Yeah,
I like the TIE fighter being inside the TIE fighters. Yeah, that's true, and I agree. But I didn't feel
a lot of
like
stuff
there
like
was
that
anything...
that was really good.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was all a bit dark sometimes. They needed to bring a bit more light to the show with this particular episode. Okay. I thought it was a bit dull and gloomy. The music was okay, but I thought that as I say, it's not that I didn't think it was greatly executed. I just thought that we could have had
more of a twist in the plot. You need a bit more of a twist in the plot.
I think that the people should have been helped in some way. These people that are being subjugated by the Empire here.
Yeah,
I felt that there should have been some payoff, some sort of thing whereby that something happens that helps them.
Destroyed the base.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've only watched it an hour ago, so that hasn't really. But I just felt like they were underused. That whole group.
They were just a distraction, weren't they? They were just a distraction. That was the
colourful one, which could have been interesting to incorporate into the storyline somehow. But they couldn't. They didn't do that. It would have been interesting if they'd had a couple of infiltrators inside the religious group that then shoot all the Imperial Guard at the end or something like that, and then you see them raiding the base. Now that would have been a good twist at the end if they then had turned and pulled out these weapons, these ancient weapons, and like backlefts and just chopped their heads off or something like that. Now that would have been action packed and exciting. I listen. I could spend just half an hour injecting.
There's always but there's always a lot of things you could do, and say you could have changed it like that. I mean, they'd planned a mission. This is what they were going to do, and that's what they were going to stick to. It wasn't going to be. And I thought that the problems that they had were kind of good, genuine problems that you could imagine coming up in a situation like that.
Those George Clooney films, the 11, the 11 films,
Ocean's
11s or whatever they're called, and the first one of those I watched, I thought, this is interesting. You can watch them, see all the heist and the moves. The second one, the same thing. Third one's, I just getting bored of that. I got bored of it working out all the time. And what I wanted to see was it just go completely wrong after the first set, and then they have to improvise. That would have been exciting.
The problem with it was there was only one way to escape. That was on this thing.
You can make up another way.
I suppose.
What would have been great is if they'd flooded the dam and had some sort of raft they had to ride down the river on, or something like that. I don't know. Anything like that could have been.
Yeah.
Or they could have
escaped on the terrain. It was nighttime. They could have tried to escape on the terrain, but then they would have failed the mission. That would have then. This is kind of the lead up to the rebels becoming the rebels. They needed to kind of succeed this. They needed to kind of succeed the money mission to be able to go and get the whatever they're going to buy planes.
They needed the money. They needed the money for sure.
They had a fight. They had a battle with people. They didn't get as much as they wanted. They lost more than half their crew. That doesn't sound like it went particularly to plan. No,
I've never said that. I never said it went to plan.
There was a bit of a twist with the fact that they got taken to this planet. The guy was going to steal the money. Andor's then going to leave. So it kind of.
Well, I mean, Vel had nothing to say about change of planet location, did she? She went straight with that. She must have suspected that.
Well, she didn't have much choice because the two guys had said, "Yeah, we're going to do this."
I know, but she must have suspected Arvel was dubious. I think he, and if Arvel had such a connection with the tech guy, then with Karras, they would have.
He didn't. No, he only did that. He only did that because he didn't want Cassian to take them back to, where the rebels are, because then the money would be theirs. So he wanted an excuse. He wanted an excuse.
About when earlier on in the other episodes, I know he wanted an excuse. Early on in the other episodes, he seemed to have a connection with Karras the character development seemed to indicate that he was almost like a son to him in some respects, you know, and he would talk of him fondly, and you know his belief, and they all saw Karras as a potential, you know, revolutionary, and they kind of paint him more as that towards the end here, as they
I didn't necessarily get that, but
yeah,
I know what you mean. They all liked Karras because he was just young and a bit naive and idealistic, you know.
Yeah, idealistic. But you know, so I was, listen, as I say, just to make this clear to you, I thought,
yes.
you know, and it's actually at the moment it's got a 9.3 rating on
on the Internet Movie
Database.
The sensible people have rated it correctly. I thought this was a really good episode.
I tell you now, that will be down to what, 8.5 in a couple of days. You know,
but that's
you get all really the fanboys come out first and give it.
That's still I agree. It will go down.
It will go down.
Technique.
Yeah, and but you know, I just felt disappointed by it.
That's fine.
And I think
it's your opinion.
Yeah,
it's okay. I'm just surprised. That's all. You know. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I think maybe because the last episode was a little bit slow and could have done a little bit more. And then when we actually saw something, I was like, yes, great. And it was done. I thought it was done really well. So yeah, you're right. It could have been maybe a few more plot twists, but like I say, the point of this was to get them some money so they could get the rebels going. So that it kind of had to work, didn't it? A bit like Rogue One, you know, that kind of had to work.
There would have been many ways for them to get the money out. Many ways to get the money out.
Yeah, but it was still enjoyable, and we didn't get to see that nice. We're still waiting for this dinner, aren't we? Which Mon Mothma's gonna have. You know, so we're still waiting to see that. So hopefully that'll be the next episode. So still things to look forward to.
Yeah Well, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what role Vel has going forward. I think that she's an interesting character in this next couple of episodes, but maybe she'll just be gone. I think maybe they're going to switch the attention to Mon Mothma now, because we've seen a picture of the Senate and there's very few people there, you know, so that's all being closed down. You know, there's a change in the power shift. So I think they'll look at establishing her homeworld as the kind of the first rebel free city, or the rebel city, you know. We'll see.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'd really appreciate anybody to subscribe and like the videos. Hope you enjoyed what we said. If you've got any comments, leave them in the box below, and we'll see you soon.